Attention, citizens. It's time for Super Pulp Science.
This is Super Pulp Science, where we talk about how genre gets made. I am here with my long-suffering co-host, Justin Curry. I don't know if you know this, but he's known the world over as Chasing Artwork. Also with us on the podcast, welcome back, producer extraordinaire, Dan Vadeboncoeur.
Hello.
Dear listener, you had to suffer through Super Pulp Science After Dark. Actually, I can't even say that with a straight face. One of my favorite episodes of our season, I had nothing to do with, and I'm not sure what that says about us.
The one two episodes ago?
Is that 2 ago?
Yeah, it was just when Lyndon and Zach went rogue, and
they went rogue, and I really liked it because it gave us, I think, a fresh perspective.
I liked most of it.
Yeah, they did trash talk Justin's choice of a product name in an unkind fashion, but they did preface that Super Pulp Science After Dark would have different rules.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that's okay. So we're going to be nicer, right?
It's okay. Revenge is best served cold.
Amazing. Okay, so much stuff going on in the studio right now. For the sake of the dear listener, I will paint you a word picture. We have converted the studio into a shipping and receiving depot for fulfilling dire beasts. So all of our fulfillments are going to get sent out today.
Yeah, we had a successful book Kickstarter, and a part of that journey entails at the very end, your product arrives, and then you have to ship out quite a few things all at once. So we've gotten them into the different piles of the different rewards. These people got signed books. These people got unsigned books. These people got books and postcards and another book. And so you have to make all those piles and keep all your packaging and addresses sorted. And it's
spreadsheets.
It's a production. I don't know how people do this in their houses without like a big space to take over.
Yes, hats off to everyone who has ever fulfilled a Kickstarter from a one-room apartment. Like,
I know it happens. But
yeah, it happens a lot. I have a question for you, spinning out of that. Typical publishing contracts, the author gets 10% and the publisher gets 90% because what we're talking about, the publisher does all that other stuff. So
and on their 90%, they have to pay a whole bunch.
They have to pay and do all that kind of stuff. So this is my question to you is, now that we are doing this is not your first rodeo at Kickstarter either. We've done this a number of times, but does that 90-10 split seem fairer on days like today when we're doing that kind of work? Or does it still seem like, hey, we're getting it all done in one day?
The journey to get to this point, I think I only feel confident about doing. We're shipping out like a couple hundred books in the next day or two here. It's a huge amount of shipping that's about to happen. And I can only do that because I struggled and learned a lot doing my own online store and online fulfillment and made all the mistakes on like a smaller scale before I got up to doing things like this. Before the podcast, Lynn and I were briefly talking in the studio about how most of the horror stories you hear about Kickstarters come when they're about to ship everything out and they realize, oh God, shipping's expensive, packaging's expensive. I don't these things don't have tracking. They get lost. How do I get them back? There's so much to learn with shipping your stuff around the world. And if your first time is shipping hundreds of things around the world, you can be in for a rough go.
Yeah. And I will say to this is information only minutes old to the studio because I've just returned back from the post office. We did a dummy version of packaging up our things. We figured we had it all. And I still just got a little gun shy about it and said, you know what, let's take our biggest package. I'll walk it over. We'll weigh it. We'll have them measure it. And then we'll see whether our plan matches what the post office is going to say. And certain things in the world of shipping, dear listener, make no sense. So we have Dire Beasts, which comes with Dead Work if you ordered that tier. So one graphic novel and another in the same envelope, off to you. Might cost $16 shipping. But if I sent those same books to the same address in separate envelopes, $5 each.
Because the combined weight puts it over.
The combined weight put it 160 grams over into a new category.
Because instead of being letter mill category, it's now package category,
okay.
which is a whole different thing.
Right. And so these are the kind of things that sometimes, if you had a really successful Kickstarter and you suddenly had 500 or 1,000 things to mail out, the difference of $10 shipping times 1,000 items and $16 or $18 shipping times 1,000 items can be the difference of your entire margin on the project if you didn't budget.
That's when you hear about those stories of people who had massively successful Kickstarters and then went into debt because by the time everything was paid for, packaged, and shipped out, they had to take out loans to actually fulfill it properly. It can be ridiculous.
So then this circles back around to that 90-10. So when you are asking yourself, dear listener, do I want to try and get in with a traditional publisher in either books or comics or graphic novels? This is the stuff that they undertake. And we have lamented many times that we don't think it's worth it, that split. But I think it's important to revisit it when the actual labor is literally on the table, right?
Yeah.
Do we feel like it's actually a fair split? I have to say, I still say no. It's not fair.
Well, it's not on the same scale as a lot of publishers do. Like it's no.
In Canada, this is very much on the same.
Is it really?
As well.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
Interesting.
Yeah.
I always assumed it'd be more like thousands of books and like bookstores.
That would make you a bestseller in Canada.
Really?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
Huh. Interesting. I did not know that.
We're basically what, like a mid-tier publisher without
like in our province, we qualify as a mid-level publisher.
Wow.
No, we aren't. Just by our
evil
It's by your volume.
By our volume. And yeah, we're not evil enough. We're not taking 90% from everyone. So we don't quite get the publisher to no. I've worked regularly with a number of publishers in Manitoba, and you got to go eyes wide open with those.
There's lots of great ones out there. I don't mean to poo-poo on publishers. But.
Yeah. Although I did like hearing you say poo-poo on public. And that might be how my phone wakes me up in the morning now. It's a little soundbite of that. So all joking aside and all lamenting aside, how does it feel to be on Fulfillment Day?
So it feels like it's like what we do for a living. We paint pictures, we tell stories, we take those from our minds, put them onto the computer, make physical versions of them. Kind of how it all started was going to Comic-Cons and conventions and selling these prints, these books. And then that business of being like a full-time artist these days, I think it's just part of being a well-rounded version of that is shipping things out. You have to have an online store. You need to have a way for people to buy things that aren't going to be at your local conventions. And like for the longest time, I think I resisted the online store and shipping. Like it scared me. It stressed me out but I think it's part of it, and you have to get your hands dirty in that part of the business. It's like posting online and advertising yourself online. I think it's just part of what we do for a living. And so it feels good to have like a fairly good handle on. Like there's still lots for us to learn with shipping stuff. I'm sure there's some tips and tricks that we have yet to learn, but it feels like it's not the funnest part of our job, but it's part of our job.
Interesting. A repulsive essential, I would say.
It started off as that. I like it now. It's fun. It's enjoyable. Packaging something up, throwing in a couple extras, throwing in a little thank you card, doodling on the package sometimes, and like, this is gonna go to Lyndon. Where was that one package going to? Denmark. We're sending our book to Denmark. How cool is that?
Hey, Nikolai, good to see you. How are you, kid? Look what you did. You just delivered your very first FedEx package. That deserves something special, like a Snickers bar and a CD player. And something to listen to, a CD.
And celebrating those small parts of it is,
yeah,
I think, where the joy is. Like, rather than, I have what do we have, 160 packages to make today? Well, now if we have to split them, it'd be a lot more.
320.
And so you can get, I think, caught up in the monotony of how long that will take and how unfun that is. And so paying attention to the closer details, like, this one's going to Denmark. This is the beginning of your journey, little packet, right? Sounds silly, but it can, bring a little joy into it. Yesterday was a book birthday of sorts in another way for a project of mine called The Oncelands, which we launched at McNally Robertson. Justin was kind enough to attend our book launch, and so was Lyndon. Dan only sent angry emojis.
Whatever. Oh, to the last one. I can't get out to every one of these. You guys have these all the time.
In fact, I sent to a lot of members of my family. I know you guys were planning to attend, but it won't be the last one. If you guys have other things to do, don't stress about it, right?
Let's talk about book launches for a moment here. What does a book launch mean to you now, and what did it mean to you when you were starting out?
Oh, that is a good question. Okay, so just for context, I think Oncelands is different than other projects that I have done recently because it's not pure comics. It's not just a graphic novel. It is a collection of stories. It's a novel-length collection of stories with a couple of comic editions and a number of illustrated things. And
a hybrid project.
Yeah, so kind of a peculiar sword and sorcery object that has been the labor of a number of years and sort of developed in a very strange, quite natural way out of a couple of short stories that we collected and released at cons that had a really great feedback and uptick. And so then we added some more and people really liked that. And then we made a whole new book collection. People like that. And then Chadwick Ginther spun off and made a whole different book in the world. People like that. So I spun off and did a whole different book in the world. And so it's been growing quite organically. So this is different than what a book launch used to mean for me, which was, I think, external recognition by the industry. Right, that you have arrived somehow, and that your book is available in places where people can get books, and it's a bit of there's a ceremonial aspect to it. I like to ceremonialize things. I'm a very sentimental guy, so book launches were if I start going to bookstores and people show up at bookstores for me, then I'm like what you were saying. This is part of your job. You're doing it, but you're also participating in the community in a way that when I just attended launches, it's like that circle. It's like that's where I want to be, and I got there.
Yeah, I remember being very enamored by the idea of a book launch, like back when I was starting to even think about doing books and seeing other creatives that I knew having book launches and getting that seal of approval from like Chapters and Indigo and McNally, like these huge bookstores,
give you face, put a poster up with your face on it, and tell people about it.
I've had a number of students in our program. We used to have thing where students would write novels as part of their as a project. They could do whatever they wanted. So and some students did a graphic novel. Matthew Dick made what was it called again? Winterpeg.
Winterpeg, yeah.
Winterpeg was his project. So the students will do projects like that, and they will have a launch for it, and they love it. It's just a great experience. It's very satisfying at the end of all that hard work that they put into that book to have that celebration of it. And then the other cool thing is that because there are so many people there for the book launch, all the family and friends and everybody comes to support, that book is like the number one seller at McNally for that week.
For that.
It's like number one on the thing. They have their charts or whatever, and that's it feels good to see your book up there number one just because it's so many people showed up to buy it.
Good, come on in. It's pickup day. Yeah, pickup day. So that is what we expected. Sorry for the brief interruption to your listener. We are in pickup day also. So we've set a local pickup. So some people are arriving to pick up their Dire Beast books. And you know what that means? One less package for us to pack up. So sorry.
Dragon Nanny, it was right at the end of kind of the COVID bubble, everything. So you and I packed up the car with 80 local deliveries and spent 2 full days driving out across the city.
We were probably
delivering.
We were the happiest UPS style deliverers in the city because we just had snacks and chats and books and
then it was the first time we got to see a lot of these people in person, right? We were still masked up and on the other side of the door, but it was like, hey, you're alive, I'm alive.
Yeah, here's the book.
Here's the good time.
Yeah. Okay, so we were talking about book launches. You asked me,
what do they mean?
What do they mean now? So now a book launch means something different than it did then. Then it was more about a milestone. Mm-hmm. This is a finish line. This is a way the book is.
Well, you make the book alone in a dark studio by yourself, and then suddenly at the end, there's this party where you talk about it with dozens of people.
And people, seem interested, and that's amazing. But now that it is a more part of our regular sort of existence, quote unquote job, is to launch books. I don't see it as a finish line anymore. I see it as literally as the launch. Like I used to see it as the creative, as the finish line, because now the publisher's got to do done jobs. Yeah, the work is done, and now it's somebody else. And now I see it as, okay, the beginning of the actual life of the book. And for the dear listener, if you've never attended a book launch, typically what they are like is anywhere between 20 and 50 people will show up in a room. They'll sit around. The author will give a brief introduction about who they are. They'll do sometimes a short reading, sometimes a frankly way too long reading from the book, and they can be somewhat anticlimactic to the audience, and it's more about just the big group hug.
Yeah.
Okay.
Right?
And then questions. Are there any questions?
Sometimes there's a Q&A. I've done a Q&A.
Yeah.
I like the Q&A portions. We haven't done a book launch like that in a long time. I try to make them as interactive as possible. We've done ones where people are sketching, where kids are invited to come up and ignore us and just draw and cut stuff out. We have done story making ones. We try to make it an event where if someone comes,
Memorable.
Memorable, and participate in a creative expression in some way for an hour, basically.
It's a big ask. Like a lot of writers and a lot of people who make comics are introverted by nature, right? So asking them to put on a show in front of a huge crowd is
it's a lot.
It's a hard ask.
The first couple of times we didn't put shows on because you were just like, you've never done it before, and you're just trying to follow protocol, decorum, how it's done.
The bookstore usually has a kind of like an MC type person who will
an events coordinator.
Yeah, kind of.
McNally's got the best.
John Taves.
He's so good.
Yeah.
I love that guy. He's got the best voice, and he's just such a nice guy.
Dulcet tones. But yes, also very organized. Runs a tight ship. Over there. And the first couple of times we said, hey, we want to try a different format, there was some, I think, notable and understandable reluctance, right? That you're going to break with what works for them. And the important thing, dear listener, if you're trying to plan something that breaks with that tradition, they have a time slot that is important because obviously staffing, and then they're giving up portions of the store for the launch.
The book launch takes place in the bookstore, and you've effectively cut off like 4 sections of the bookstore for your big group of people and podium and everything else.
So if you have a wild idea, be wild, but keep it in the time frame. And then there's a lot more understanding. So if you're wondering why they're saying, no, we don't want to do that or whatever, if you want to assert in your correspondence with them or in person, we will keep it within your regular time. We'll be finished as you're used to being finished, and there won't be any mess for you to clean up. And, just make sure that you cover those bases so that they don't think that you're just there to start a circle.
Wasting the time.
Yeah, we're wasting the time. Well, it's not a waste. It's super fun.
Yeah! Look what I have created! I have made fire!
So we launched Once Lands, and that was really fun because we did something different with that project. James Gillespie and I co-wrote the story, and then I wrote the actual novel and did the illustrations. But we invited Chadwick and Jonathan, who are all Once Lands contributors, to come and share or Shared World contributors, how the whole publishing sort of wild idea is unfolding, and let everyone sort of play in the world.
So getting into the nitty-gritty for a moment, you and I have done a lot of book launches at McNally. We've done stuff at Chapters. We've put on our own book launches here in the studio.
And stuff at Indigo,
Yeah, for somebody who's wanting to do a book launch, how does one go about arranging that?
Step 1, finish your book.
Have a finished book.
Right, have a finished book. If you're through a traditional publisher, your publisher will likely ask you if you're interested in doing a launch. They will clear some dates with you. Those dates will not always be up to you. They'll be up to the venue and the publisher's availability. So if you're traditionally published, as I said, part of that 90-10 exchange is they're going to make sure fulfillment is there. Your book, here's a very specific example. A book that I have an agreement in principle with Ariel Gordon to publish called Blood Letters, which is likely to come out, in all likelihood, will come out from Great Plains, my publisher of Automatic Age. The soonest, even though the book is finished, the soonest it could possibly have a launch is spring of 2026. That is just how the data that has to go into distributors, books have to get to distributors, has to be available widely. That is the lead time.
Wow.
So by your book being finished, then gives you lots of time to start planning your launch because you have lots of time.
Things move slow in the world of publishing.
In the world of traditional publishing. So bookstores will prioritize, obviously, traditional published books because their entire model relies on that system. It's a great, big, slow machine. Some, but not all, independent bookstores will allow self-published authors to do launches also if it fits into the schedule. Our biggest independent bookstore here, McNally Robinson in Winnipeg, no longer has room in their schedule for self-published.
Oh, so they used to do it?
They used to do it.
Okay.
Yes.
I just feel like it's a bit of a slippery slope once you open it up to that. Anybody is going to come to you and say, "Hey, I published this book," and it's going to be awful, right? And they're going to want to put it like honestly. I know we've had you guys self-published, and there are really good self-published books out there, but there are lots of really bad ones as well. That's the whole thing about self-published.
Yes.
There's no filter, right? So I think that's the hesitancy with the book stores.
Peer review doesn't mean you texted a picture of your book to your friend and they gave it a thumbs up.
Well, it's just, I mean, to me, it's about the quality of the book. Like the last, I don't want to name the book, but there's an example of one book that someone I knew self-published, and I was very nice and polite. It was not you guys. And I bought a copy of the book. The book is not good because it's just not very well written and it's not very well edited.
There was no
and
editor.
There was no, they did it all themselves and they published it. They went through Amazon's service and they published it and it looks like a book. It's a real book, but it's not very good. And because there was nobody, they didn't bring in anybody else to help them with that part of it. And that's why self-published books are still a red flag.
And that's a 90-10 piece.
But it's also like you guys with your self-published books, you take them and you sell them at your table at events and that kind of stuff. So that's a little bit different.
We do bring in editors and other
Yes, and that's the other thing. We do this there as well.
Side eyes. Yes. Tell us no.
Your stuff is good because of Sam Biko.
Yeah. Go. Jonathan Ball, Ren, also, lots of people that we reach out to and say, "You're a professional. Here's your
please check
professional
my work."
Yeah,
right.
Please do it the right way, and that is part of that 90-10 split, right?
Yeah.
Again, that's what publishers will do, and as long as we're on the topic, yes, it feels like gatekeeping to people who have a story to tell and they just can't get anyone to listen. And yes, the economics of publishing are somewhat diminished right now, and so the gates are smaller, right? There's more people trying to fit through and there's less openings. They open it less often. So yeah, it does feel like that.
but there's so much more opportunity for the self-publishing routes of using the internet and the online following to get your book out that way, to sell through Amazon. 20 years ago, self-publishing, it was 100% on you, boots on the ground. And now if you've got like a healthy online following and a crowd and you want to do it yourself,
Yeah, you can do it. Yeah, it's possible. I follow a number of authors on TikTok who basically that's what they use is self-publish.
Why would they need a publisher? They have
Yeah.
1 million followers that like what they say.
One of the ways that I use, non-scientific ways that I use to gauge whether a book is sort of that's being released locally is maybe a bigger deal than I've given it credit for, is if it shows up on that local bestseller list in advance of the launch, right?
Mhm.
So, because what happens is a book is being launched, but copies will arrive in store so they can promote the launch, so people can buy copies and then at the launch have the author sign it or whatever. And so once the book arrives, if it makes it onto that list, it means there's anticipation for it. And then if it's it's very typically on the launch week, it also ranks up in those top 5s. And then if for a couple weeks after it's hanging on to the top 10 locally, that the book itself doesn't need any help. That once they have it, I mean, what do readers do? If you read a good book, you tell someone about it.
Yeah, for sure. Word of mouth.
And so that is what happens.
Now, you don't have to have a book launch at a bookstore. You guys talk about having book launches here.
Yep.
Like you can just hold an event anywhere and launch your book and say, "Here, come buy my book," and sign it and do the exact
not
same
sharing
thing.
the profits.
Well, but then you sell if you self for the people who self-publish, right?
Yep.
You can't get into a bookstore. No, they were not going to do your launch. That's fine. Rent a space and launch your book.
We know
right?
friends who've
Yourself.
done it at a microbrewery, right?
Yeah.
Book launch at a bar. We launch Red and See-Through and Snow Troll's Daughter
Here at the
studio
yeah.
here. And I think we almost made like our printing cost, or we made
In that
half,
one day.
Yeah, we made
Yeah.
half the printing cost. So it was a huge success. It was great.
Yeah.
So people like book launches. It doesn't necessarily have to be at a bookstore.
Yeah.
And especially if you're self-publishing and you don't want to wait a year and a half to do it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I think, Dan, that was an excellent point, and I would like to then say, dear listener, this is your permission to pick a place where you want to have a book launch, advertise it, and just launch your own book. You don't need anyone else's permission, but if you felt like you did, you had just got ours. You can do it.
Mm-hmm.
I believe in you. The audience decides whether the book is any good, as Dan has pointed out. Yes. Right?
Sorry, I don't mean to throw shade on that, but it was not very good.
No, but that's real. As soon as your book is in the world, there will be people who do not like it.
Yeah.
Period.
But I think that for that particular book, I think it was just this person's goal to write a book, and they were very happy for having done it, and they were happy with this product, and so that's what matters to them. Is that
Are they ever going to make another one?
Probably not.
Yeah.
No,
So
that was a one-time thing. They wanted to publish this book, they did it, and it's done, and they're happy with it, and then they've got their name on a book, and
They're
that's
not like already the fact that they actually finished.
Yeah.
Like puts them into a small category of people who actually finished the book.
That's right. Yeah, one in hundreds in Canada. You know, if you actually finished a book and got it into a physical form that someone can hold, it doesn't happen as often as you want to imagine it does.
This is a great segue to talk about NaNoWriMo.
Oh, but that is. So National Novel Writing Month has been obviously in the news. It's November, and it's been in the crosshairs because of their stance or non-stance on AI, which we won't belabor here. But the basic idea is it's a loose organization that suggests that everyone try to write a novel
50,000 words.
Yeah, try to get 50,000 words in November. And we use November also because it's sort of the end of con season, so it becomes a nice way for us as a group to start encouraging, pressuring, or bullying each other into getting our words in.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, let's talk about it.
Yeah. Sam Biko, who originally did not intend to do NaNoWriMo, was a victim of that peer pressure in the group chat.
Yes.
Of us all getting our words in. And so she leapt into the fray and is now writing, I'm not sure what, but she's having fun with it.
Yeah, and I will say, I don't think I'm telling tales out of school when she said, yeah, I remembered that this could be fun. Like, it sounded fun again, right? You know, she has a lot.
She's discovered that again,
Yeah, you know, there's a lot, and man, there are a lot of external pressures in the world in general, and specifically in our lives right now. But a few hundred words where there are no rules, there are no expectations, there are no publishers attached, there are no deadlines except the ones you set for yourself and your friends. It's so great. So great.
Here's the drill. Plane pulls in, we get off, and there's a little ceremony right there in the hangar. Fred Smith will say a few words. All you have to do is smile and say thank you.
What are you writing about?
Okay, so my story started as a loose description of an alleyway that I visited in Istanbul.
So you just pantsing this.
You
had a scene.
Yeah,
Let's see where this goes.
Yeah, and I've been thinking about that place a lot. So often when I'm writing, if some place is on my mind, I try to distill it into some words, and then it expanded a little bit. And we mentioned this on a previous episode, talking about this setting and this idea, this essential notion of this magical architecture in a world that maybe we would all share, and it's separate from the shared world, a whole different thing. And so it started as a big, muscular, heavyset dude who is looking for somebody in the crowd, and he plans to knife them to death in this alleyway. Like, that is what he's been sent to do. And it was just the simplest, like,
You've been playing Assassin's Creed.
That's right. The simplest dumb plot that you could have is like, you know, busy crowd, big dude looking for his target. But then as it expanded and I wrote more about the world and some like sort of nuances, and I found out about ambergris, I remembered this
whale
word.
stuff.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Right.
I forgot about that stuff.
Make perfumes out of it.
Yeah. So it's
I like whales.
An essential ingredient in perfume that comes from the intestinal tracts of whales. And so I imagined this street of vapors, I called it, where ambergris from all over this world comes from all kinds of different creatures also, and is sort of burned in the street so that people who buy it for certain things send their collectors to sniff the air and pick the right one. And I was just making up stuff. Important thing. The only
they pump out the vapor, so people, it's like the ad.
Yeah, basically, they have a little incense burners just going, and so the street fills with these vapors, and only the most discerning noses essentially could even make it out. There's a whole bunch of
Cool.
right?
Like yeah.
And so this guy has never been to this street. He's killed people all over the city before. That's what he does. Is people pay him, give him a target, he finds them.
Yeah.
And he starts really kind of enjoying himself and really like looking at the people,
Getting distracted a
little and getting into it and having a lot of potential. He realizes like, oh, I could fit in here. He starts noticing how people behave, and he realizes, in my job, I've basically been a blunt instrument. Maybe I would be good at fitting in. I realized that I've just fit into this conversation. I've just fit into this crowd. I've realized what I should wear here in order to move around and not be noticed. He's like really good at he's discovering a new talent he didn't know he had. And he's thinking like, oh, maybe I can make this part of my business. He found a scene.
Okay.
And that's when I realized he had potential. And that made him a target for his target. So he's been there, sent to kill this alchemist who's going to be shopping on the street. He's been told he'll be on the lane, and he goes to try and find the guy, and then essentially is outmaneuvered, strapped into a chair, and he's going to be rendered for his essential essence, a la the Dark Crystal. And that potential. And so
he finally found happiness.
Yeah, he found a thing he might be good at, a new wrinkle in his life, and it is that the alchemist was looking for. And he hires people to kill him all the time so that he can render them for these things.
Oh,
right. He essentially puts a hit out on himself on the street all the time. And usually only for people who've never been there so that they won't be missed when they're gone.
Do you know what happens next?
I have no idea. That's as about as far as I've got.
Cool.
Yeah.
I like it.
And whenever I'm wondering what should happen next, I say, doesn't matter.
Yeah, I guess,
Right? Doesn't matter what happens next. That's not the point.
It's nice not having that deadline, not having, like...
We do have a deadline.
Well, yeah, you kind of do, but, I mean, also you don't. Like, it's...
Yeah.
It's not in the sense that we normally have our deadlines.
Quite nebulous. And for me, this is not advice, dear listener. This is just the process that I use. So if I'm not sure what will happen next, I will zero in on a description. So I'll describe more carefully the world around me in the hopes that a detail that comes to me as I'm describing that will give me a hint as to what will happen next.
I usually cut to the B story. Like, I don't know what's happening here anymore. Okay, well, let's jump over to Jerry over here and see what he's up to.
Yeah. When I started writing, quite seriously, I thought shifting narratives would be what I was good at because I loved reading those and I found it pretty easy to trend. But then I would get so lost in my own, I wouldn't be able to keep track of all the stuff, and I would be in that habit of, I'll just switch to a different character, different POV. And definitely not for me.
Don't like that.
I want to write a good POV, multiple POV story, but I realized in order to do it in a way that I think I can accomplish, I'll have to write each of those stories separately and then edit them together as a crosscut.
Okay.
I think that's how I'll have to do it. I've tried.
Some authors are so good at that where they get you going so, you get so invested in what's happening here, and as soon as it's getting good, they switch to somebody else.
Oh, the cliffhanger magic.
I remember so many times, as a teenager, finding where the next chapter went back to those characters and skipping
ahead.
I want some of the time you just had to, because it was frustrating how good they were at getting you invested in this storyline, and then and now we're gonna jump over here for a bit.
Oh, that's amazing.
I don't care.
Okay, so tell me about your story. What are you working?
So I'm back on a story I've stopped and started a couple times called While My Bones Burn, about it's kind of a sci-fi dystopian body horror a little bit about this world that was kind of swept up in kind of AI took over the world in a nice way. AI developed smarter than all the humans, started building all these magical basically like the best kinds of transportation, computers, medicine. Like it just basically kind of took over and it's like, okay, humans, we know how to do this a lot better, so we're gonna do it better for you.
Benevolent dictators.
Yeah. So for like decades, basically the world was ran and built up to this utopian, computer-driven place, and then the AI left and took with
They got
it.
busy and left.
Yeah, it left. Nobody knows what happened, but humanity was now left with all this infrastructure and all these toys that could no longer function because the language of the AI was so far beyond human understanding that humans could no longer work any of the technology that it left behind.
Yeah.
So it came, it gave us all these presents and then took off, and then humanity kind of like freaked out, and the Antiques War happened. So suddenly all this technology doesn't work, so now we have to go back to what we had before and kind of rebuild, and it was skirmishes and all this hell. And then where my story takes place is like a decade or two after that, humanity is kind of like somewhat back to some semblance of normalcy. There's still, skirmishes and it's not all hunky dory, but like we're somewhat stable. And this one kind of faction finds pieces of technology that can be merged with the human mind to use to operate this technology left by the AI. So
it needs a human operating system in the place of an AI.
it needs a brain with enough plasticity that it can survive the merger with this piece of technology.
Young brain.
Yeah, so a kid, yeah.
You get it right away.
Well, I knew what the story was about.
Yeah, I've explained it before. So my story is about this group of 5 kids that have died in various ways and then get lobotomized and merged with this piece of technology and are the first humans to be able to operate the technology left behind by the AI. And so this is kept secret and kept underground, and the story is about basically these kids acclimating to being put in robotic bodies and learning how to walk again and do various things. And then eventually they're going to be put in these large, like, mobile robotic tank suits, calling them like warframes, something like that. And then are going to be made to do horrible things.
Made to do horrible things. What's wrong with us? Why are we so broken? It just gave me an idea. I was lamenting a minute ago how I can't do multi-POVs. I think for my writing sprint today, because the last guy didn't make it. I don't think he's going to make it. The way I left him, I think he's done. And I was like, do I try to get him out of this? I think I'm going to do a multi-POV story.
So you got the reader thinking that this was your main character.
Yeah. I think I'm just going to have a multiple series of victims of who is the sort of main architect of the story. But we'll get to know him through the eyes of all the people that he captures and tricks and gets into it. And my challenge will be, because I don't want him to come across as super evil. I want him to be likable. So far, I kind of like him, even though he's doing some really dark stuff. But I want him to be one of those villains where you're like, oh man, if it wasn't for this horrible rendering of other humans for their potential, he'd be kind of a fun guy to have at a dinner party. Like, that's the kind of vibe. I'm
like
kind of crazy.
Hannibal Lecter. Like, if you're on his good side, probably fun to chat with.
Yeah, like if Gandalf was Hannibal Lecter. Oh my God, that's basically what I'm doing.
Where's Wilson? Wilson, where are you? Wilson!
It's really helped in my story. I've kind of attached my different characters to different actors. And so when I'm figuring out what's happening in the scene, I simply play that movie where that actor and that actor are having that conversation. And it seems to flesh out so much easier having those, like, just being able to see those characters in my mind.
Like casting them.
I've cast them, yeah. As soon as I cast a couple of those characters, they're like, their personalities suddenly were like locked in place. Before, I didn't exactly know what they were like. And then as soon as like this character is Taika Waititi uses her all the time in Thor Ragnarok. She was Goldblum's assistant. That lady is the one training the kids at the beginning.
Oh, I know what you're talking about. Yeah.
Right? And as soon as I attached her to that person, I was like, her dialogue just flew out of me.
Interesting that archetype, a lot of people who examine the efforts of humans throughout history in storytelling recognize the value of assigning an archetype in order to have an easy tool that the audience understands. You're doing that for yourself. You have a built-up mythology of all of the different media you've consumed, and you have a archetypal woman that now fits and allows you to speak through it. The real reason for these archetypes is it allows you to put yourself aside and then speak through them, kind of like lucid dreaming in a way. Right? That's cool. Do you know where yours is going? Do you have it plotted?
I have, I want to say the first half to 60%, like pretty solid in my mind. That last act, I have no idea, but I'm very excited about where it'll go. And I know if I try to like bullet point it now, it won't be as strong as if I naturally get there through what I know is supposed to happen in the next 20,000 words.
Yeah.
You know?
And what, are you setting a word count per day for yourself, or are you just writing?
I haven't been. I've been cheating a little bit because I've been chipping away at this book, like I said. So there's most of what I've wrote in the past I've scrapped, but there's been a chapter or two that I thought were quite good that I wrote last year when I was taking a writing course. And so I was writing on a daily basis and I was really hitting a groove. So I've written about 11,000 words, and I want to say about 3,000 words were from what I did last year.
Okay. Pulled from
Yeah.
It's good parts.
Yeah.
Good parts version. I'll say that I was going to do that. I was going to rework an original, like a draft of a novel, and then Dan shamed me by saying, when we were laying all those things out in the episode where we talked about what we might do for NaNoWriMo, he said, no, the best idea is that one about the inheritance, about the rendering the alchemy. And so that haunted me. I was like, okay, I'm starting. And I was hopefully the draft of my book that I was going to polish. And then Dan's voice is like, you're no good. I didn't say that. And your book is trash. Start something fresh with this new idea. That's basically how you sounded in my archetype.
Well, here's where I say I haven't done any writing at all. I haven't. I think I just have a problem with prioritizing my time, and it's just I feel like I'm too busy, and it falls out of my head. And at the end of the day, I don't feel like energetic enough to write anything. I was in a good groove for a while with Meat House, and I'm probably halfway through Meat House, so about 45 pages now. So I'm pretty happy with that, and I can finish it. I have the rest of the story, just have to be able to write it. But I think that we're only a week in. It's the 7th as we're recording this. I could probably get 50,000 words if I use AI.
Yeah.
Well, why not? What if NaNoWriMo says it's okay? Why not use AI?
Okay, well, here's the thing. It is okay because it's just for you. Who
Yeah,
cares
yeah.
what you do in the private?
Like, it'll get me going, right? Maybe I should be doing that. Maybe I should be embracing that aspect of it more and
Yeah.
seeing what I can do.
Do I think it will bring out your voice as a writer? No. I think the long-term effect of using prompt-based writing is that your voice will disappear if you rely on it. However, I often say to very young writers who are like, how do I start? What do I do? And I did this to your class. I said, pick characters you know from other things.
Fan fiction.
Just like what you're doing, cast them.
Cast them, essentially do a first draft where they're all characters you know from other things. Do a second draft where you start to file the serial numbers off, and do a third draft where it's only your ideas. So, I guess that's the way to do it. It's difficult for me to be totally against it because I use Photoshop to accomplish my art tasks, right? And Photoshop in and of itself, aside from the new updates where it'll actually prompt images for you, up until that, it was a scaffolding of technology that allowed me to very efficiently and very quickly accomplish tasks. So it's disingenuous for me to say I'm allowed to do that for my drawing, but you're not allowed to do that for your writing. It's like,
and I don't really want it to do all the writing for me. I'm thinking in terms of maybe outlining and giving me ideas for things to come next. We'll see.
Scaffolding.
We'll see how. We'll see how it goes. But I do want to write this. I really do want to get into the habit of being a regular writer and just doing it for the sake of doing it. And I just need to commit to it more.
If I promise not to cross-examine you, can I ask a couple of questions about it?
Sure.
Okay. In your day-to-day, what are things I think all of us, just as a caveat, myself included, will procrastinate on tasks we don't want to do, right?
Yeah.
What are your favorite ways to procrastinate?
Usually it's by making a TikTok video or by doing something along those lines, like something that's fun. The thing I hate to do the most is mark assignments. I just can't stand it.
Right.
So what I'll do is, we got another pickup. Hello.
Pickup.
Come on in.
Come on in. Welcome to the madhouse.
It's okay. How's it going? We can pause. Hello. Why is it not moving? Oh, and is it moving? Now it is.
Good?
Yes. Okay, go ahead.
So, here's my thought. dear listener, we just were briefly interrupted by another person who came to do their pickup. And in that instant, I realized, here's what I would suggest to you. This is my prescription to you. Why don't you make a TikTok video about what you think your chapter or story would be about that you would write?
See, I don't want to do that, though.
Don't post it necessarily.
Yeah.
Just make the video and then convert the audio into your
Okay, yeah, I guess. Good. I see what you're saying. Yeah, yeah.
Because you, you're an audio guy,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
I feel like you should just weaponize something that you're good at, which is talking more freely, organizing your thoughts on the fly, put it into the microphone, and then let the microphone be your stenographer.
Dan, was it you who told me that you did this? You write via the voice memo?
No, he does that.
I did that something.
Yeah. Where like and the great thing about like when you're writing on the computer, you can always jump back up and blah blah blah. But when you're dictating, when you're writing by just talking, you can't go back, right? You can only go forward. So it's all forward momentum. So if you go for a long walk with headphones on and just dictate out a chapter, I think some people find that really, really helpful because they just can't reread what they just wrote.
I can give you a specific example. Someone I know, I don't know him well, but I know him well enough to know that this is a fact. Kevin J. Anderson, who writes the Star Wars and the Dune books and hundreds of other things, he dictates all of his writing on long walks.
There you go.
Really?
And paraphrased in a conversation I had with him, that what Justin just said. Because I can't pause and go back, I have to go forward, and it allows me to structure the narrative in some way. Later, it means there's a little bit more editing because I might have an idea and say, oh, this should go before that, or whatever. But this is something you're used to anyway. When we're doing our podcast, sometimes you slide the relevant audio data into the right way.
I was just thinking, oh, sorry, I lost it. I had a thought and I lost it. Oh, yeah. Wait. No, I lost it again. What the heck's wrong with me? I'm so confused right now. Oh, yes. I was talking to my girlfriend about this and about procrastination, about the tendency I have sometimes to not do the things I've been, like this, like Meat House and these things that I'm not being able to complete. And she said she heard somewhere that when you talk about these things this, you know this? Do you know where I'm going with this? Okay, you get the hit of dopamine just like actually doing it. Yes. So when I talk to you guys about this project that I want to do, I'm feeling really good about it.
Right.
And then I don't really want to do it when I go home. So I'm going to stop talking about it on this podcast. And the next time you hear about Meat House, I'm just going to slap a copy of it down in front of you. And that's going to be what's going to happen.
A lot of people know that about themselves. They will not talk about what they're currently.
Well, I didn't even occur to me until we talked about it, until she said that to me. Oh, yeah, I guess.
Yeah, because we do get really excited about it here.
Yeah.
And so you get the release. But here's the same way that I will use Photoshop to have an infinite layer of collage elements, which would be nearly impossible in the real world to accomplish practically. All of the different times that you laid out all the elements of Meat House or any of these stories you want to do on audio, take that audio file.
It works, yeah.
Drop it into the little, it's so easy now to convert audio into text.
Yeah.
And now you've got your draft.
And then I can just type it, retype it, and correct the spell. Because, it never gets it right, but that's okay.
It gets it really wrong. Actually, that is of enormous value, your response. One really clever how to use AI in your classroom, I hate it for the most part. Teachers that are like, let's just use it all the time. Sort of, no, that's really lazy.
Yeah.
But the one that I thought was really interesting was ask the AI to provide a story prompt or whatever, and then George Costanza it. Do the opposite. Rewrite it as the opposite position of whatever it suggested, right? So that it becomes a choice by you as the author rather than just copying someone's homework, which was copied from other people's homework, right? And so, really that's the human quality, is our ability to choose.
Cool. All right, we'll do it.
So we can't talk about it anymore.
No, that's it. We're not going to talk about it until it's done. Until it's just done. But who knows? Maybe this will get me going and I'll be able to finish it by next week. I do feel like it'll come out quickly once I sit down to write. So
as an aside, because we've had those interruptions, my time sense of where we actually...
Yeah, we can wrap up the podcast now. Yeah.
Are we good? Yeah, we good. Okay, so, dear listener, this has been Super Pulp Science. And a number of things I think have occurred here that bear collecting in a very simple way. A call to action, if you will, for you, the dear listener. Number one, if you're writing a book and you're self-publishing that book, you don't need a bookstore to endorse you. You can absolutely book out a restaurant, plan an event, get that finish line to be the big celebration that you needed from your peers and your loved ones to just have accomplished that thing. As it develops into your career, if it develops into your career, you will want different things. You'll attempt different things. You'll experiment differently. And those launches and those things, those doors will open or close. It's not really up to you at that point. You just got to have the work done. If you are trying to attempt to write for NaNoWriMo, this is our permission. Sometimes people need permission. This is our permission. Use whatever help you need to get that first draft done. But the second draft, make yours. And the third draft, make all yours. That's my suggestion to you. This has been Super Pulp Science. This is GMB Kovichuk encouraging you to join the fight and make comics.